Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today I'm going to be doing a news roundup of the future of Disney movies and the future of the MCU. And guess what? It looks pretty much all to be the same as what we're getting right now, which is no surprise. But I do want to shout out my secondary channel, Welcome to Asgard. I just posted up another Blu-ray hunting video where a Best Buy employee tells me that I needed to stop filming. So if you want to see that experience and my thoughts about Best Buy's policy and how it's inconsistent and it really needs to start being more consistent, especially being pretty clear, then go ahead and check out that video. But what am I talking about today? Well, for one, shocker, Disney is exploring the sequel idea for their live-action Aladdin film. Oh, yes. Yes, we knew we'd come to this point. We knew not only would the live action movies continue because every single one of them that came out this year made $1 billion except for Dumbo, which in some, I guess it really depends on how you look at it. I would say probably in Blu-ray sales, etc., it probably broke even, but in the theaters, it definitely was one of the worst performers of the live actions, and it's what I thought many of the other future live actions would probably end up doing. Maybe the more obscure ones will end up doing it. But then we had films like Aladdin that made over $1 billion. We have Lion King, which on record is the highest grossing Disney film that is not a Star Wars or Marvel film, which to me is insane. The film's like around $1.4 billion at this point. So now you've got Disney saying not only are these going to continue, because why would we stop? People continue to spend the money on it, even though it's not a good film, even though they're pretty much just complete carbon copies of the originals with less soul. And in the case of The Lion King, with no soul whatsoever, we're going to continue to make them because it's making us money, which again, great business decision. However, I think that the audiences need to start waking up to that fact that that Disney is starting to just put out complete crap because they know that you'll go buy it. They know that you'll go see it anyway. So join the resistance. Join us in saying, screw you, start making better films, start making more original films, and maybe we can start supporting you once again. But because of this, though, we have now the possibility of there being the Aladdin sequel. Now, are they going to follow the same direction that the cartoon ended up going in with Return of Jafar? It seems to be that would be a logical thing, though to be honest, Jafar was the weakest part, or one of the many weak parts of the most recent film, and so I don't really think I would have a film centered on him, and also it goes in very different directions than the one that they decided to portray in this as well, so I don't really know if that would work out. I don't really think they would be able to get it to work and also to make money. To me, it might even be a situation where it's more like a situation similar to Alice in Wonderland, where the first film makes $1 billion, the first film does very well, but then the sequel, because they're thinking, oh, we can do no wrong, ends up not doing as well as it could. So I'm really hoping that they do not do the sequel because, dear Lord, the last thing we need is more live action films, let alone now sequels of live action films that no one asked for and no one wanted, yet normies continue to just go ahead and support it and to prop it up with their money anyway. So here we have one news item. Apparently Aladdin, possibly, this is coming from Bleeding Fool. They do not provide an exact source. They say, stay tuned. So obviously take this with a grain of salt. However, the fact that one of the producers apparently has said that they are looking into the idea, this has not been confirmed at this point, but imagine that you're a Disney executive right now and you're looking at Disney's Aladdin and you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, this film made over $1 billion. This film is profitable. Why wouldn't we at least think about it? It seems to make sense from a business perspective, but come on, guys, stop supporting freaking Disney films so that this nonsense can stop. We also have this nonsense going on. Disney planning to reboot Die Hard fan franchise. Now, let me just go ahead and try and point out that this is only being covered by We Got This Covered, which is not a very good or reliable site. So take this with a massive grain of salt. I would say that the news from Bleeding Fool at least makes sense. At least it works within logic. And also it says that this is what a producer has said is being looked into. So therefore, I trust this a little bit more because at the very least, it makes sense. This one, on the other hand, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Some people say, oh, but they own, the rights to Fox, which means they own the rights to Die Hard, so they're rebooting everything. Why wouldn't they reboot this franchise? Well, I think that the reason why this franchise would not work nearly as well as some of their other reboots that they've had recently is because of how much passion the fan base is for the first, second, and some would even say the third films. Everything after that, it's kind of a mixed bag when it really comes down to it. But look at what those films have done recently. They have done well enough at the box office, but they're by no means billion-dollar franchise films. And so I don't think that they would want to spend their time or money pursuing this when they could pursue other films, other, for example, Fox property canons that they could end up rebooting or bringing back in their own way that would probably be a little bit more profitable. So not only is this being covered by We Got This Covered, and that's not very reliable, but also to the news itself just doesn't really make as much sense as the other one. So before we dive into it, let's get a few few important things out of the way. Yes, Die Hard is one of the best Christmas movies ever. Yes, it's also one of the best action blockbusters to date, and yes, John McClane is a total badass. As we've mentioned before, while Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox was undoubtedly a win for the company, it looks like some of the franchises that are now under the House of Mouse control have proven to be a bit problematic. We've heard the poor performance of Dark Phoenix didn't actually inspire confidence in future X-Men films, for instance. Well, keep this in mind too, that Dark Phoenix was still mostly filmed and mostly controlled by Fox before the Disney merger. So I will at least give Disney that much to it. Do I think that Disney had a hand in changing some of the story elements? I do. I really honestly believe that they changed some of it because it was a lot like Captain Marvel and they did not want to have that kind of a crossover. Do I believe that they did not do the best job in marketing and pushing the film compared to their other projects? Sure. But again, I think that's because it was mostly a Fox product. You could see the same thing happen with Alita Battle Angel, where it took them forever to get that movie out on DVD and Blu-ray, and even then, they did not have as much confidence that it would sell as well as it's doing, and it is still continuing to sell well. So I think that, again, we got this covered, kind of putting in commentary here that does not really hold water when you compare it to other things that we know. Thankfully then, we're now hearing that Disney's planning to reboot the franchise entirely. So instead of them continuing it, apparently now the rumor that they're hearing is that they're going to reboot it. However, they don't provide a source. They don't really tell us who is actually saying this, and normally we got this covered ends up actually taking quotes and articles from other people and then claiming it as their own, or at least putting their own stamp on it, which to me is just kind of a bizarre concept, and I can't believe they get away with it. And obviously you have 81% of people being angry, but I think that a lot of people are angry more so with the coverage than they are with the news itself, because obviously this news, if it is true, if they are indeed planning this, is stupid, and I think it's something that all of us should try and speak out against, because not only do we need less remakes and less reboots in this era of Hollywood remakes and reboots, but also, too, this is a franchise that really should not be touched, seeing that the people that own the franchise tried to do too much with it and ended up making it really, really bad. We got some other stuff from Cosmic News, though, talking about the future of Marvel here. Again, this is all part of the Disney Roundup, that Chris Evans is apparently rumored to return to Marvel and Disney+. This really doesn't surprise me all that much. Chris Evans was on record saying that he would probably be done after the films, but of course he has to say that to try and build up the tension of, what's going to happen to his character? Is he going to die? How is he going to die, etc. And not only do you have him have one of the worst character arcs, in my opinion, because his character arc alone kind of breaks the time travel loop that they try and set up in the film, and obviously the time travel element is just total crap in the movie because they break their own rules constantly. But I think that Captain Marvel's is easily the best example of how they break it. But anyway, he apparently was going to move on to do directing. I honestly didn't believe it. Just like I don't believe that Tony Stark, I do not believe that Robert Downey Jr. is completely done with the MCU. Do I think he's not going to come back for a while? Sure, he's probably going to want to take some breaks, maybe do some of his own passion projects. The guy's got crap tons of money to be able to do so. But do I think that he's done with it? Absolutely not, because Disney is soon going to realize that when you don't have names like Chris Evans, when you, like, for example, Captain America at the very least, when you don't have names like Captain America, when you don't have names like Iron Man, let alone Tony Stark, let alone also, Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, you're going to start to see people are going to be less inclined to go see the movies. Now, they could just bring back Tony Stark just to try and prop up the stupid side C, D, F characters like Ironheart or one of the other characters like that, which you kind of see them doing with some of the TV shows that they're putting on Disney+. But with that being said, I do think that it's interesting that they are at least talking about this somewhat publicly, and it is being here covered by Cosmic News. So it's being claimed that Chris Evans is not done yet with Marvel, as it's being rumored that Captain America actor may be a part of potential Disney Plus shows. According to TVO from the Lords of the Long Box YouTube channel, ideas are being thrown around for Chris Evans to potentially star in an original Human Torch series and or a series which sees him return as Steve Rogers. Now, this is where you start to get into that point of, now I'm starting to question the source. Now I'm starting to question this, because I don't think he would ever return to be the Human Torch. I don't think he would ever touch that, especially when he was already established as Captain America. If he's not going to continue to be Captain America in this universe, I highly doubt that he would come back to Disney just to be Human Torch. However, him being involved with Disney Plus, him being a big name to try and bring more people and more eyes and attention to it, that could be a reason why they'd bring him on, because that makes more sense. Because I don't think that these Disney Plus shows are going to have that standard audience. They're going to have people that are going to want to go behind a paywall just to be able to watch them based on the people, based on the shows and ideas they're currently throwing around. It's similar to Star Wars. Sure, The Mandalorian looks kind of cool, but what was the main thing in conjunction with that they tried to promote? Clone Wars Season 7, because they knew Clone Wars Season 7 would be able to motivate a lot of the passionate Star Wars fans, the George Lucas fans, to be able to say, oh, I really want to see that. I want to see the conclusion of that story. And by a bonus, I get Jon Favreau's Mandalorian, which kind of looks pretty cool. In the same way, I could see them trying to form a show, or at least the future of a show, with someone like a Chris Evans, to be able to try and bring more eyeballs onto their streaming service, because as we know, opening day, they don't have a whole lot of content available. Of course, we know their vast libraries will eventually become available. They'll probably end up doing a tiered option too, so that way you get access to more and more things. And what I honestly believe is going to happen is that eventually what you're going to see is Disney start to put their movies directly onto their service, where you pay $10 to $15 like you would for a normal movie ticket, only now you don't have to leave your house. Because I really honestly think that's the future of filmmaking. Instead of us going to the theater, instead of us dealing with people on their phones, people crying, all that other stuff, instead it'll be all from the safety of our home. And I think Disney Plus is going to be the start of a lot of that, because Disney, obviously as a gigantic company, is going to be wanting to try and push the forefront, push ideas, push concepts, and try and force the market to follow suit and make a crap ton of money in the process, because you know that they'll likely have ads that you have to watch before the video, even when you buy a ticket, even when you buy the movie, they could charge crap tons of money for people to have advertisements for their own movies or for anything else before any movie would play on their service. That's honestly what I think is going to happen. And I think Steve Rogers, specifically Chris Evans, Steve Rogers would be a great part of that. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you think Chris Evans is going to return? Again, it wouldn't surprise me. Just like even if Robert Downey Jr. returned, it would not surprise me, because when the money's right, actors tend to put any sense of principle out the door. Do you think that there's any truth to them rebooting Die Hard? I don't think. This is the one that I have the most questions about, but still they are in the business of rebooting things that people don't want rebooted, so it's not completely out of left field. However, it's the source here that I currently just don't really trust. And what about the news from Bleeding Fool that apparently a producer has said that they are at least talking about having a sequel to Aladdin? And with that being said, one could easily see that they would say, oh, we're going to do a Lion King 2. We're going to do an Aladdin 2. We're going to do pretty much every live action film up to this point, a sequel to it, because, hey, why not? They made over $1 billion, so why wouldn't we at least take the risk? Please, Lord Almighty, let that not happen. But guess what? The only way that will not happen, the only way that Disney will finally wake up to this, is if we start speaking with our wallets, unless we start saying, hell to the no, I'm not supporting this nonsense. And that's a decision that only you can actually make. So what are your thoughts about all these stories? Let me know in the comments below. Also, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. Also, check out my secondary channel, Welcome to Asgard, so that way you can get updated on latest Blu-ray news, because I have another Blu-ray collection video coming up with it being focused on cheap Blu-rays, specifically going into I don't know why I'm blanking out on it already. It's been a long day already. Going into a Big Lots and checking out some of the cheap movies that they have over there. But also check out my affiliate links in the description below if you want to support the channel. If you shop on Amazon, use my affiliate link and I get a little kickback every time that you make a purchase over there. And also too, buy a display poster. They're awesome. They're really cool. And that one I get actually an even more generous kickback from, and it is a little bit more on the expensive side, but they have deals going on all the time with free shipping and also usually with 20-30% off. But if there isn't a deal going on, you can use my promo code Odin, ODIN, to get 15% off any and all orders. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.